Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another mildly interesting video. Say, remember the time that Sailor Moon Crystal Season 1 aired? Yup, no one really liked it, but here's the thing, Season 1 and 2 were made in the same batch. So, who's ready to lose it again? Now, because Season 1 and 2 were made in the same batch, there's not a lot that has changed visual-wise or audio-wise, but there is one thing about the visuals from my experience. See, I actually watched Sailor Moon Crystal 1 on Bilibili, but when I was about to finish that up, Netflix announced that they were going to be bringing all 3 seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal onto their platform over here, and I figured that this must have the better quality than the Bilibili one, because I actually found out there were 2 versions of Sailor Moon Crystal. One was the live TV broadcast version, and the second one was the Blu-ray version, and apparently, the Blu-ray version fixed a lot of the mistakes from the broadcast version. So I figured that Bilibili was taken from the broadcast version, and thus Netflix would be taken from the Blu-ray version because they're a multi-billion-dollar company. They can afford that kind of quality, right? Right, exactly. It's just that the Blu-ray version was still bad. Turns out the Netflix version was the same as the Bilibili version. They were probably both the Blu-ray version, and I hated both of those animation styles. And the more that I watched Season 2, the more I absolutely hated it. At some point, the animation made it feel like it was doing a chore. And another thing about my viewing experience was that I decided to watch Season 2 completely in the English dub, because at this point, I just could not handle the Japanese dub anymore. And the English dub was surprisingly good. Every voice actor really matches the character on screen very well in my opinion, and the performances are really great as well. I mean, it doesn't really help that we still have the mandatory voiceover exposition probably provided by the studio, but for the English dub, this was surprisingly good and I really enjoyed it a lot. But enough about the old stuff, let's just cut to the brand new stuff, starting off with Chibi Usa. After crash landing on their 2 lovebirds trying to do a kissing attempt before threatening our titular character with a gun, it's a baby with a gun! This kitty douchebag that introduces herself as the daughter of Neo Queen Serenity and King Endymion. You know what, I'm not sure, perhaps you do make better plot twists and reveals than what they've tried to do over here. What I did not expect, however, was who Chibi Usa would end up becoming later in the season, which was surprising, but also surprising in a surprisingly good way, if that makes any sense, because of the setup that was done earlier on in the season. It kind of made some sense, surprisingly. But anyways, bratty kids. Chibi Usa is incredibly annoying and very bratty, and I don't really like her at all. The fact that she is a child does not do anything to negate the fact that she is one of the most annoying characters put on the show so far, which is honestly surprising considering Usagi herself is so annoying and hard to watch because she is the epitome of stupidity. Even Usagi herself does have a little complaint at the end about Chibi Usa.
You're right, you do get on my nerves, and you're selfish and bratty, and you're always following me, but I still want you around. Please stop crying, Usagi!
Well, I agree with everything what you said, but that last part... But anyways, let's talk about the brand new story, where this time our villains are looking for someone called the Rabbit. Golly gee, I wonder who could it be? I completely understand. This is Sailor Moon. This is not Fight Club. This is not Dark. This is not Westworld. This is Sailor Moon. It's meant to have a much more simple plot. But the plot here is actually really good in my opinion. I really love how very effectively and quickly the stakes are established. Because at the very first face-off against the enemy, we think that the heroes are going to win. So imagine my surprise when it turns out not only did the villains manage to actually edge out a victory, they managed to do so by taking one of our friends and locking them in their home base far, far away. Right away, it's established, these villains are not here to play around. This is a step up from what we had in Season 1. Right away, I was interested in the story, and I was interested to see how this was going. And as we lose more members as the story goes on, I got more and more invested into this. Not only do we have to face off against these bad guys, we have less people to do it with. And those friends actually help us establish why are we fighting this battle in the first place, even when it gets to the second half, when we're in the 30th century in the Moon Kingdom, which is so far away from Earth. A small issue that I have with the story is that we actually spent some time establishing some connections between our protagonists and the people that they care about here on Earth. But because the second half is so far away from Earth, like in time and space, that pretty much gets ignored almost completely. But even still, the motivation about beating the enemy to save our friends so that we can then beat the enemy altogether is carried out incredibly well into the second half of the story and until the very end of the season. But oh my god, the battles are actually pretty annoying in my... One thing I'm not a big fan of regarding the story is that as we get to the end and the villains seem like they're starting to win towards the end, all of a sudden, the writers add this like brand new superpower or something like that allows them to just one-shot the enemy. No issues. And this ended up becoming a pattern, so like I already knew what was going to happen. I mean, it already helped that I already know that there's going to be a season 3 and then like 4 more movies afterwards. But even still then, it was a bit annoying for the final battle to just be like super easy, barely an inconvenience. We had established like these villains from the beginning as like incredibly tough and very challenging, like we have to take them seriously. And then the writers just added a brand new superpower that allows them to just instantly kill them all, no problem. That is the one issue that I have with the story. Most of the other things, however, are pretty much well done in my opinion. But let's talk about the main Sailor Scouts. My two favorites are easily Sailor Mercury and Sailor Jupiters. But when I was watching the show, I realized that I didn't really care that much about them. Like, it's surprising, like, they're my two favorite characters in the show. Why can't I give 2 cents about their safety? And looking back at it, I feel like the reason that is the case is because in Crystal, the main focus is Usagi and Mamoru and their love between them. Everything is about them, but as a result, we don't get to see a whole lot of extras from these other characters. We do get to see some specifics that help establish each character as an individual person. That really does help, but we don't get to see anything extra to like add more to their character. We just get like bare specifics. But at least the chemistry between each other is really well done in my opinion. But oh my god, I hate how everything is about protecting Usagi. I really hated the moment when their friends went, we are all going to become stronger so that we can protect the princess. It makes it seem like Usagi is getting all of this extra protection, not because of what she has done, which we have seen and thus earns our respect, but because of simply who she is, which is substantially less powerful than us actually respecting Usagi because of the things that she did at the end of season 1. That should be earning our respect, not the fact that she was born as a princess, and I absolutely hated the show for continuing in this direction. And I feel like this problem could have been solved if instead of it being about protecting the princess, more specifically Usagi, it was instead about protecting each other from the enemy. That would have worked out so much better in my opinion. And I feel like overall, this anime will have a lot to live up to if they want to keep me watching until the finale airs on Netflix in the end of this August. So we have to stop this!